I shouldn't be here, and not for the obvious reasons, like the 4-year vegetative state from the 2 incredibly rare and life-threatening neurological conditions I got as a child, where I also wasn't ever expected to walk again, and I spent 10 years in a wheelchair, or for the 4 different relapses in the last 3 years of that very same condition, each time having to question whether or not I'm going to make it through or ever walk again. I shouldn't be here because not too long ago I tried to take my own life. I was overwhelmed, I was burnt out, and I really hadn't addressed the years of trauma that I endured as a child, and I hit this breaking point quite literally at the peak of my success. I was essentially given this superhero cape, but I had no idea, especially as a teenager, how the heck to be a superhero. That was the furthest thing from me. The thing is, I never wanted my story to be shared. I wanted to go back to school after spending years, age 11 to 15, in a vegetative state. I wanted to go back to high school with my triplet brothers and be a normal kid. My story was shared publicly. I guess when you win a gold medal, there's some curiosity when 2 years prior you were coming out of a vegetative state. I get it. But it wasn't my choice. I was still trying to figure out who I was after losing everything. And I remember being so devastated that my story was out there and people knew about my trauma, and I didn't know how to address it. And my mom said, well, you have 2 choices in this moment. You can hide away from it, or you can lean in. You can lean in and use that voice for something. That voice that I had lost for 4 years. And relearning how to talk is not an easy thing, and my family jokes that I haven't stopped talking since then. But I knew I was given my voice back for a reason. I just didn't quite know what that reason was. What I have learned, though, is most people don't struggle. I'm going to do that again. Most people don't struggle. What I have learned, though, is most people don't struggle because they're weak. They struggle because they've been strong for too long. I had stayed too strong for too long. From a teenager to my 20s, I didn't think I had a choice but to be strong. And I've learned that high performers, folks going after their dreams and overcoming the odds and doing amazing things, don't usually crash out or burn out. They slowly erode while trying to maintain this vision of being strong. The shiny sparkle of this hero journey that was mine had been eroding beneath the surface. I was hiding in plain sight, struggling with debilitating anxiety and depression and post-traumatic stress. So I couldn't keep going. I was so tired, I was so burnt out, which I know I'm not alone in feeling those things. I didn't know what to do. So that night, when I completely broke down in 2021, I had a foolproof plan. I knew exactly what I needed to do, but one thing that wasn't involved in that plan was things not going according to plan. I'm here today because of that, because my plan didn't work. I'm also here to tell you that just because something doesn't go according to plan doesn't mean it's a bad thing. Exhibit A. A breakdown could very well be your pathway to a breakthrough. Just switch some wording around right there. Truthfully, though, so much of my life, the success, the hardships that led to the success that most people saw, were not according to my plan. I had written an obituary, didn't think I was going to survive past the age of 15. And a lot of those breakthroughs were built on breakdowns and plot twists. There was a far greater plan. I just had to lean into and embrace it. I had to trust that this breakdown would lead to some kind of breakthrough. Now, I did not plan to get sick as a kid. In fact, mentally, I thought I was dying. I wrote an obituary in my head at the age of 11 years old. Because what my prognosis was, what my outcome looked like, was a lost cause. Now, I'll let you in on some secret information. There's no such thing as a lost cause, and if there is, I'm happy to be the poster child. Or even the setback after setback after setback. Yeah? Yeah, did I bump something? Okay. Okay. Okay, can I grab a sip of water? Cool. But how is the energy in the... Okay, cool. Thank you. I appreciated the laugh.
It was kind of it's kind of like the dark humor kind of where it's like...
Dark humor has gotten me through so much.
Right.
That's literally our family's like MO. Like a lot of coma jokes go on in the Arlen household.
So, do you not, you don't talk about what actually the trauma on stage right now? Like, and I'm not saying that this...
What happened? I go into it a little bit. I have a new book coming out, so I'm talking a lot more about mental health. And I always say that this story of still being here because of despite all that, is more the story than the whole vegetative state. That was essentially the catalyst that started it, but the last 10 years is more the story than anything. And it's more relatable. So I talk a little bit about it. I mean, I can talk more about it if you want me to, but I've shared that so many times.
So it was the vegetative state you're talking about that was the trauma.
Yeah, but then it was the performance role that I had to be in my 20s for being this miracle that no one gave me a manual for, and it was essentially like, all right, go get them. And I was like, but shouldn't we talk about, like, maybe this wasn't all that it was cracked up to be, you know? Like, you're not, I had planned to die, not live.
Yeah.
So then when I live, I'm like, everyone's like, all right, go get them. And I'm like, I don't know how to go get them. Yeah. So I kind of talk more about that, I guess, in this one. Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
Because I was thinking about the story in my mind, how we can tell the story in the video.
Yeah. Yeah. I have some tidbits of it too. Where do we want to go back to?
Can you just say, like, just a couple slides back?
Yeah, I was going to go breakdown could very well be the pathway to your breakthrough. Yeah. Or maybe, yeah, because I feel like, yeah. I'll just start from there if that's okay. Yeah? And after too, if after we run through this one, if you want me to elaborate more into the other part of the story, I can do that. Yeah, but I can totally do that too. So just let me know. Yeah. Cool. Was my hair back or forward so it looks? Does it matter? Okay. Sorry, that's more my TV brain talking. It was like, you had your hair forward and not back. All right. A breakdown could very well be the pathway to your breakthrough. Truthfully, so much of my life, the success, the hardships that even led to the success, were not according to plan, especially my plan. They even were built on breakdowns and several plot twists. But there was a far greater plan for me. I just had to lean into and embrace. I had to trust that this breakdown of all breakdowns would lead to some kind of breakthrough. There was a purpose for this all along, even in the painful parts where I didn't understand. In the 20 years on this journey, I have learned that there is always a purpose for your pain, for all of our pain. We just have to be brave enough to hold on and see. Sometimes that means allowing for your plan to not go the way you think it's supposed to go. Life throws a lot of things at us. I think everyone can relate to that. They can be painful, confusing, surprising, and definitely, most definitely, not part of our plan. It's how we respond is what matters the most. No, I'm going to say that again. But it's how we respond that truly matters. I did not plan to get sick as a kid, obviously. In fact, mentally, I wrote my own obituary and had planned to die. I hadn't planned to live because the prognosis that was given that I was going to be a lost cause. I'm going to say that again. The prognosis was I was a lost cause. I'll let you in on a little secret. There's no such thing as a lost cause, and if there is, I'm happy to be the poster child. Or even having setback after setback after setback, where I did feel a little bit like a lost cause in my 20s. But the plan that was being set up transpired into something I couldn't even imagine. As much as we should plan, and you're talking to a very type A person who loves a good itinerary and loves a plan. I have loved plans since I was a baby, and my mom said I would try to organize my day when she was getting me ready for the day. Let's be a little open and curious together about things not going as planned sometimes. There could be another way, maybe even a better way. I almost just fell, sorry, I'm gonna recenter. Even if it doesn't feel great in the moment, I can promise you it's leading you somewhere. And that somewhere, it can be pretty awesome, I'm not gonna lie, speaking from personal experience here. But life is gonna throw us obstacles, challenges, setbacks, and it's not our job to focus on the problem or the setback or the obstacles. It's our job to focus on how we're responding to those things. Whether it's personal or professional, how you respond is what matters. Especially responding to things that don't go according to the plan. Think of it like a detour or a reroute, taking you where you need to go, and maybe even out of harm's way. I've thought a lot, way too much, about detours and the meaning of them and how we can plan to go to a destination. We think about our route, we plug it into our GPS, and we know where we're going. And then we're hit with a detour, and we're put on another path, a road we're not familiar with. Our plans might get rearranged. Our arrival time might be either quicker or slower. But the detour's purpose is usually protecting you from harm, whether it's construction, an accident, weather, who knows, there's a lot of reasons for a detour. A detour is usually meant to prevent you from something that could really get in your way. Sometimes detours save you time. I can't say. Sometimes they give you the scenic route. Sometimes they even save your life. You might even be put on a better path, a road that you really liked with a view you didn't expect to see. The thing that is really amazing, though, about each and every one of us is that we can detour our thoughts and how we approach things despite what our circumstances may appear as, despite what we're dealing with. An example of when I really first discovered this part of a detour was when I was in that 4-year vegetative state. I was locked in, which meant I could see and I could hear, but nobody knew that I could. So I was completely aware of everything going on around me and my surroundings, but nobody knew I was in there. And the doctors told my parents several times, right there in front of me, thinking I couldn't hear them, that I would not recover, let alone I'd be lucky to even survive. And if I did survive, the Victoria they once knew was never coming back. My parents were told that they should either plan a funeral, and if they refused to do that, then they should plan to put me in a special care facility and move on with their lives. Thank goodness my parents didn't follow that plan. They didn't even listen to that plan. Shout out to Mom and Dad. I'm here because they believed that there was another plan and another way. But back to the vegetative state, there I was about 3.5 years in this locked-in state in a makeshift hospital room in our living room because my mom refused to let me waste away in a hospital. And so she was taking care of me in our living room and essentially set it up like a hospital. And I'm laying in this bed, surrounded by family, and they were saying goodbye to me. I just didn't realize it at the time because my nose itched, like really bad. And you know when you have an itch, and the more you think about it, the itchier it gets? I'm laying there, my family's saying goodbye, and I'm thinking about the fact that my nose is really itchy, and can somebody please scratch my nose? That was a form of torture that kind of could compete with the vegetative state in that moment. And so I'm lying there, and I'm struggling for many obvious reasons. But in this moment, I realized that I can't scratch my nose. I can't do anything right now. I am quite literally trapped. I'd been somewhat optimistic up to this point, and in this moment, it all hit me. This is really bad. I can't even scratch my own nose. This is the definition of rock bottom, and I don't know if I'm ever gonna scratch my nose again, let alone do anything else. And that moment, that very humbling moment, also made me realize how much my life had fallen apart, how bad and dire this situation was. I'm trapped in this vegetative state. I don't know if I have tomorrow. I'm not even expected to make it to my 12th, 13th, 14th, 15th birthday. And worst of all, nobody knows that I'm still in here. Nobody knows that I haven't gone away, that Victoria is still here. I just can't let you know. So things were really bad, as you can see. And I knew that if I kept going down this path of stinking thinking and realizing just how bad and being Captain Obvious in this moment, it was going to get really dark and really dark quickly. And once you slip down that path, it's really hard to climb back out of it. So in that moment, panicked, I didn't know what to do. So I took a pause, and I started to think about the day I get to scratch my own nose and how amazing that's going to be. How awesome is that going to be to be able to just scratch my nose, right? And look, I know that sounds like I'm scratching the bottom of the barrel, but when you're lying there, you can't do anything, you're going to find the one good thing or something to look forward to. So I was looking forward to scratching my nose. And look, I'm not trying to show off right now, but like, what I can do? I can do like 2, I can do all of them, I can scratch my nose, and so can you. But in that moment, despite the very bad circumstances I was in, I chose gratitude. Now that gratitude felt like a mountain, but I chose to start climbing. I chose to start climbing that mountain towards gratitude, which as I began that climb, thinking about how awesome it is I'm gonna scratch my nose and what else am I gonna do, it gave way to a very powerful 4-letter word that a lot of people are afraid of: hope. Hope that maybe things could get better. Hope that maybe tomorrow will be better than today. Hope that maybe I'm one step closer in this exact moment from being able to scratch my own nose. This detour of gratitude, if you will, which shifted my perspective on the situation I was in and rerouted me in a direction to focus on hope. Which, when you mixed in with a lot of hard work and not giving up and having so much support around me, became my roadmap back to life. That roadmap not only allowed me to overcome the, do that again. That roadmap, yeah. Okay, right here? Okay. That roadmap allowed me to not only overcome the unthinkable, but achieve, I can't say that word. I'll do that again, right here? Yeah. That roadmap not only allowed me to overcome the unthinkable, but achieve the unthinkable despite everything that had happened. Despite nearly being taken out by this incredibly bad situation several times. Sometimes we're not necessarily physically trapped, but we can feel trapped in a lot of different ways. And it's really easy to fall down, it's a lot harder to stand back up. And I look at negative thinking as falling down and positive thinking as trying to stand back up when you've gotten knocked down. So sometimes, though, it's really hard to stand back up, and you don't want to because it's scary. And here's the thing. I was out of that vegetative state on that fateful night back in 2021 when I was quite literally seconds away from taking my life. And as I struggled with debilitating anxiety and crushing depression and so much panic, it felt like I was right back in that vegetative state. It felt like I was once again unresponsive, unheard, unseen. It felt like I was screaming and nobody could hear me all over again. Mental health is often like feeling like you're drowning in plain sight. And as I was trying to make sense of all that was unraveling, I remembered something really profound in that moment. I can scratch my nose. And that's something to keep going for, because I fought like heck to be able to scratch my nose. And I have learned over and over and over again that when we are really going through it, we just need to find one good thing. Just one. Even if are we good? Sorry. I thought you were walking towards me. No, you're good. I've learned over and over again that when we're really going through it, when we're really feeling like we're drowning, when we're really struggling, we just need to find one good thing. Even if it's something you might not think is a big deal, like scratching your nose. Trust me, it's a very big deal, but teach their own. And it is hard to do. I will be completely honest. It is hard to do, to find one good thing when you feel trapped, overwhelmed, stressed, burnt out, confused. You feel like you're climbing a mountain, and a mountain that you just don't know when it's going to end. Yes, this situation I was in was still hard. Yes, it took work to climb out. Yes, sometimes I have those days where I still need to climb. But I found the detour I needed to start the climb. Your steps might be small to start. I'm going to do it again. Yeah, like into it. Yeah. Your steps may be small to begin with, but you just have to put one foot in front of the other. And as someone who has had to relearn how to walk several times, baby steps, there's nothing wrong with them. You have to just keep climbing to find the good. And I want you to know that if you're tired or overwhelmed, you're not broken. You're human. Sorry, but you're human. And you don't need to see the whole mountain. You don't need to necessarily know the entire journey or the whole plan that's unfolding when things haven't gone to plan. You just need to take the next step. You don't have to stop climbing. Just climb a little smarter. Take a snack break if you need to. Fuel up. Find that gratitude. Let that help you, fuel you to keep going. Just find one good thing after another, after another, after another. And sometimes you might even need to take a break and scratch your nose. Or if anything else you need to scratch. I just go with the nose. We'll stay on this theme here. But here's the thing, though. I'm going to inform you on some good news. The fact that you can see me, or that you can hear me, or that you got out of bed today, and that you're alive, or better yet, the fact that you can scratch your own nose, these are all amazing, good things. So you already got a list to start. These are things to be grateful for. And as someone who has lost everything, every single ability, had to relearn how to do everything, trust me, it's pretty amazing the fact that we can do all of those things, let alone everything else. Life is going to throw us all kinds of detours, all kinds of plans that we were like, oh, was not expecting that. We're going to have setbacks, and we're going to be tested a lot. No matter, though, how tough the climb is, or how many detours or unplanned situations come your way, if you keep climbing and trusting the plan that's unfolding, the view is totally worth it, even if you're all sweaty and burnt out from it. I can tell you from firsthand experience, and with, I'm not trying to brag here, a platinum status when it comes to visiting rock bottom, the toughest climbs have the prettiest views.